right, welcome back to the Deep Dig of Sports Pod. I'm your host, D. This is the Diamond Pick of the Week, where every week we go through the 49ers game and we check out what are the odds, what's the best bet, and we place our Diamond Pick. And before we get into all that, go ahead and hit that like button, go ahead and subscribe, and be sure to drop some comments. Let me know what you're betting on this week. The Cincinnati Bengals are coming into Levi's Stadium and taking on the 49ers. It's been a whirlwind as Brock Purdy was diagnosed with a concussion. I believe it was late Tuesday, and he's actually passed through concussion protocols, so he will actually be starting. He is the first quarterback this year to get diagnosed and then pass through all the protocols in 1 week. So that's a thing. And the 49ers actually opened up as 5.5 point favorites, and they have remained throughout the entire week 5.5 point favorites. They are money line. If you were to take the 49ers, it's minus 250. So you need to bet $250 in order to make 100 back. If I'm going to be honest, I don't feel great about it. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, just the way that the defense playing, that secondary had got eaten up. The pass rush isn't really getting there. And you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase coming in, but I know Steve Wilkes has been feeling the heat. I know that Kyle Shanahan had made an emphasis to sit in defensive meetings this week. So if there's any week to be a bounce back week, it's this one. So that's kind of where I'm feeling about that. I know I said on the pod this week, if you had a gun to my head, would I bet on the 49ers? No, I'd probably take the Bengals with the points. I am feeling like that is a lot of points to give up, but at the same time, we've seen this team be dominant. Maybe they get back to those ways this week. Who knows? I just don't feel comfortable with that spread. So I'm going to look a little bit deeper to see what we can do. So taking a look at some of these props. So the over-under passing yards, Brock Purdy over 241.5, Joe Burrow over 248.5. Again, with the way the defense has been performing for the San Francisco 49ers, the secondary was obviously exposed by Kirk Cousins this past week. You might want to sprinkle a little bit on that. That actually seems pretty good. Kirk Cousins is obviously a little less than Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is better than Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison lit him up. So I don't know there. But anyways, actually feel pretty good about Brock Purdy. I feel like Brock Purdy had a really good game up until that concussion. Then you start to see some of the wonky passes, but realistically, it was a bounce back game for Brock Purdy. I feel like he's going to continue that momentum. I feel like he's going to hit that over as well. Looking into rushing yards, Christian McCaffrey over under 73.5. I know he is a little bit banged up, but I mean, realistically, Christian McCaffrey is the offense. I feel pretty good about him hitting that over. Looking into receiving yards, Brandon Ayuk over under 67.5, George Kittle 49.5, and then our guy, Jawan Jennings, 32.5 yards. If I had to choose one, I would go with our guy, Jawan. So Jawan looked like he had a lot of chemistry with Brock last week. I know last year he was really undervalued, especially once Jimmy G started playing and he had a rep with him. I think no Debo. You see a lot more Jawan Jennings on the field. And I think Kyle Shanahan really likes his mentality. I think what he brings a certain edge to the game where you kind of need that when you have a guy like Debo Samuels off the field. So if I had to choose one from the 49ers, it would be Jawan Jennings, that over. Jamar Chase, on the other hand, 83.5 over under. That is very interesting. I do feel like he is going to be able to do pretty well against this secondary. Tyler Boyd only has 32.5 over under, and then T Higgins 46.5. I don't know. I feel like when you do have a racehorse like Jamar Chase, you got to ride him. And I know the Bengals will ride him. And he already said He's 7-Eleven. He's always open. Again, I like the Bengals this week. Let's go ahead and hop over to the sacks. So if you're thinking a 49er to get a sack this week, the best odds are Javon Hargrave. So for him to get a sack, it would be plus 190. For Nick Bosa to get a sack, it would actually be minus 154. For him to not get a sack, it would actually be plus 118. And I know you're like, oh, okay, well, is that going to happen? Well, it happened last week. So again, until this 49er teams gets right, you got to go with what the trends are. And Nick Bosa and this defensive line have underperformed this year. Hopefully Kasarik can really kind of rein it in and figure out what's going on. And Steve Wilkes can stop blitzing because that's where they're getting killed. But until then, you got to kind of roll with what they're having. I would stay away from that. As far as the tackles and assists. So Fred Warner, 8.5. That's a pretty steep number, and the odds do show for it. It is plus 104, so a little bit over even money. Diamador Lenore, minus 157 to go over 4.5. Again, I think they are going to throw it a lot, so that feels pretty good there. Isaiah Oliver, surprisingly, Isaiah Oliver does get a lot of tackles, but I think because they are throwing to him quite a bit in the slot. So his over-under is 4.5. And then Teleno Hufunga, his over-under is 5.5. And if he gets that over, it's plus 112. So pretty good on that front, especially for a guy who's always around the ball. They are going to be throwing it a ton. So I'd actually feel pretty comfortable there. Taking a look at touchdowns. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, Vegas is accounting for him to get his. So for him to get only one touchdown, it is minus 251. For him to get two, then the odds go up to plus 200. And then for him to get three, plus 1,100. So crazy odds. If you think Christian McCaffrey is going to have a day, you kind of go with that. Again, the one I would feel really comfortable with is Jawan Jennings here. Jawan Jennings, I know we did it last week. He didn't get it, but plus 350 for one touchdown. That's pretty good odds for a guy who's going to be seeing a lot of especially because he has such a big target. I think he is a very big threat in the red zone. I actually might take that again this week. And then let's take a look at some of these parlays. Some of them that I like. Let me take a look here. So Christian McCaffrey to have a touchdown and San Francisco to win, minus 130. Not great odds, but if you're feeling a little frisky, you might as well take that. Brandon Ayuk to have one touchdown in San Francisco to win, plus 192 odds. Let's dig into this. So let's dig a little bit deeper to one that I like. Okay, this is the one here. So Brandon Ayuk to have over 100 receiving yards and at least 6 receptions. That is plus 365. Honestly, feels pretty fucking good for a guy who, again, without Deebo Samuel, he becomes the primary receiver and he does get a ton of yardage. He does see a ton of action. I think he is someone that Brock Purdy obviously has a good rep with. So I would feel pretty comfortable putting some money down on that. Another one that you could take is if you're feeling like it is going to be an offensive bounce back, Brock Purdy plus 250 passing yards. Christian McCaffrey gets his touchdown and Brandon Ayuk at least 5 receptions and the 49ers win. That is plus 392. Awesome odds on that. So if you think there is going to be this offensive explosion again, I feel comfortable putting some money on that. But we're not here to break the bank. I feel like pretty good about this. I am ready to make the diamond pick. And I think the diamond pick of the week for me personally, just looking at the trends, I'm going to go with our guy, Jawan Jennings, over 32.5 receiving yards. I feel like that's a lock. Again, a guy who sees a lot of opportunity without Deebo Samuel. Kyle Shanahan loves him. He does have a repertoire with Brock Purdy. So I feel good. I'm going to go ahead and pop a unit on that. And that is going to be your diamond pick of the week. So be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, and be sure to drop some comments and let me know, hey, did you agree with this? Or are you betting something else? All right. Take it easy.